Welcome to Episode 84, Privacy, Part 3, Evidence, Notices, and Pitfalls. Privacy commitments gain credibility only when they can be proven. Written policies and pledges matter little unless supported by evidence that they operate in practice. Regulators, auditors, and customers alike want to see that an organization's words translate into measurable actions. Proof of compliance is also proof of integrity. It demonstrates that privacy promises are not symbolic gestures, but real obligations built into daily operations. Without verifiable records, even a sophisticated privacy program risks appearing cosmetic. Evidence transforms principle into accountability, showing that stewardship is continuous, transparent, and defensible. Building on that, maintaining detailed records of processing activities provides the backbone of evidence. These records list what personal data is processed, for what purposes, under which lawful basis, and by whom. They include retention timelines, sharing partners, and security measures. A well-maintained register reveals both scale and control, showing that each activity has been considered and documented. For example, mapping customer data from collection to deletion highlights dependencies and risks. If regulators request proof of compliance, this register becomes the first artifact reviewed. Incomplete or outdated entries weaken credibility. Maintaining accuracy here is not administrative overhead, it is the ledger of trust itself. Privacy notices also serve as living evidence when tracked through version control, publication dates, and distribution records. Every update to a notice should record what changed, when it was posted, and how stakeholders were informed. This ensures traceability of what users were told at any given time. For example, if a regulator investigates a complaint from 2 years ago, the organization can show the exact notice in effect then. Keeping copies of historical versions and proof of publication, like website snapshots or distribution logs, creates a defensible trail. Transparency is not only about what is said, but about proving that people were properly informed when it mattered. Consent receipts and withdrawal evidence further confirm that individual choices were respected. Each receipt should record the identity or pseudonym of the individual, the consent type, time, and policy version. Withdrawals require equal precision, documenting when the request was received, acknowledged, and completed. Automation helps synchronize these records across systems so that revoked consent is honored everywhere. For instance, when a user unsubscribes from marketing, proof of removal from mailing lists should appear in system logs. Without such evidence, organizations cannot prove compliance or demonstrate fairness. Receipts and withdrawal logs turn intangible rights into verifiable events, protecting both individuals and the institution. Access logs for personal data provide another essential proof point. They show who viewed, modified, or exported personal records and when. A strong log includes user identifiers, timestamps, and activity type, stored securely to prevent tampering. Reviewing these logs helps detect anomalies, such as an administrator accessing data outside their responsibility. For example, if a support analyst opens records unrelated to their ticket queue, logs reveal and help correct the breach early. In investigations, these entries become forensic evidence. Access logging does not imply mistrust, it ensures accountability. Every privacy program depends on this quiet record of visibility and control. Retention schedules and deletion proofs demonstrate that data does not persist indefinitely. Retention schedules specify how long each category of data is kept based on business needs or legal requirements. Deletion proofs verify that expired data was actually removed or anonymized. Automated scripts or audit reports can confirm completion. For instance, a quarterly deletion log showing removal of inactive user accounts provides tangible proof of lifecycle discipline. Retaining data too long signals neglect, while deleting without record erases evidence of compliance. Balancing both is key. Proof of controlled retention converts policy text into observable hygiene. Third-party processing agreements must also be verified and documented. These agreements outline privacy obligations for vendors who handle personal data on the organization's behalf. Each should define permissible uses, security controls, notification duties, and audit rights. Periodic reviews confirm that agreements remain current and that vendors meet their responsibilities. For example, a service provider storing customer analytics data might undergo an annual compliance audit with results shared as evidence. Keeping signed copies and correspondence demonstrates active oversight. Without verification, third-party management becomes a gap regulators quickly exploit. Accountability extends outward. Proof of partner discipline reinforces internal credibility. Data subject request tickets and their timelines provide another dimension of operational proof. Each request, access, correction, deletion, or portability should generate a ticket that captures intake date, identity verification, fulfillment steps, and closure. Timely responses show maturity, while delays without explanation expose process weakness. For instance, a log showing that 90% of requests were resolved within required time limits validates responsiveness. Documenting communications ensures consistency and fairness across cases. These records demonstrate that individual rights are not theoretical, they are operationally supported and auditable. Every closed ticket strengthens the organization's evidence trail of respect for personal autonomy. Evidence also extends to breach notification decisions and timing. Programs must record how incidents were classified, whether notification thresholds were met, and when regulators or affected individuals were informed. Even if no disclosure was required, documentation should explain the rationale. For example, a log might show that a suspected breach was contained quickly, no personal data was accessed, and notification was deemed unnecessary. Recording such determinations demonstrates disciplined reasoning under pressure. Regulators value timely transparency over perfection. Evidence of consistent breach handling decisions builds credibility that the organization treats incidents as structured processes, not improvised reactions. Privacy risk assessments and mitigations reveal ongoing awareness of exposure points. Each assessment should describe identified risks, likelihood, impact, and chosen mitigations. Examples include encryption deployment, role-based access controls, or pseudonymization improvements. Keeping these records current shows active management rather than passive compliance. When system changes occur, new data flows or integrations, fresh assessments demonstrate adaptability. A documented mitigation plan is evidence that privacy is maintained through action, not aspiration. Over time, a library of completed assessments tells the story of evolution, lessons learned, controls strengthened, and gaps closed before they could become findings. Exceptions, waivers, and compensating controls also need careful documentation. Sometimes requirements cannot be fully met, and temporary alternatives must be approved. Each record should state why the exception exists, what risk it introduces, who approved it, and when it expires. For example, if an outdated system cannot implement data masking immediately, a waiver might allow limited access under monitoring until upgrade completion. Recording these decisions prevents silent erosion of standards. Closure of expired exceptions should also be documented to demonstrate follow-through. Managed flexibility, not blind rigidity, proves that governance is both thoughtful and accountable. Common pitfalls often stem from fragmented evidence, inconsistent documentation, or over-reliance on manual updates. Programs may store privacy artifacts in different systems without synchronization, making retrieval difficult during audits. Another pitfall is treating documentation as a box-ticking exercise instead of a living control. Corrective actions include consolidating evidence repositories, automating version tracking, and scheduling quarterly validations. For instance, a single dashboard linking consent logs, notice versions, and risk assessments simplifies oversight. Continuous improvement prevents drift and reduces stress during external reviews. The most credible privacy programs treat record-keeping as part of culture, not as paperwork done only when inspectors arrive. In the end, trustworthy and auditable privacy depends on evidence that matches commitments. Every log, register, and notice version contributes to a coherent story of control. When documentation shows timeliness, completeness, and fairness, trust becomes measurable. Stakeholders can see that privacy promises are not empty words, but disciplined practices backed by proof. An auditable privacy posture protects more than compliance. It protects reputation, relationships, and the confidence that data is handled with integrity. True privacy maturity means never asking for trust without being ready to show why it is deserved. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.